Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. We have our experts today, Kunal Bothra as well as Gaurang Shah. So let's kickstart with the query segment. And the first query that we've got is from Anmol, and he's saying that he had Aarti Drugs. The purchase price was 731 rupees per share. He's saying now it is trading at around 450 rupees per share. What should he do? And how should he play this particular stock? What's your take on this one, Kunal? Do you track Aarti Drugs? And what should Anmol do with it?
Well, I would suggest to look out for some sort of exit points over here. Now, let the stock get into a minor rally mode. It has a tendency of getting into a 5, 7%, 10% kind of a rally for itself. So, I would suggest to try and exit the stock on every minor bounce possible. The structure is getting weaker by the day for Aarti Drugs on the long-term chart. So, that's not boding well for the stock, specifically from a longer-term play. Shift to I would say dominant pharma name. If you're looking at it from a large cap front, then I think Sun Pharma or even Cipla at current levels could be much better bets.
Okay, this next question is coming in from Nelson. Nelson's writing in from Kochi, and he's asking Gaurang about IGL, Indraprastha Gas Limited. He's bought at levels of 409, but since that point, the stock has given up some of those levels. On the fundamentals, would you suggest holding on to this?
I would definitely recommend that. And Alex, as we were discussing a while back about oil marketing companies, I think higher petrol and diesel prices and the kind of scope of volume growth for gas supply companies, along with that city gas distribution companies, augurs extremely well. And the government is also working on national pipeline distribution grid. And it's not far away from where he has got invested. So in fact, if he's got investable amount, I would advise him to add on to the investment and stay invested from a longer period of time.
All right. This next one that I have is from Dr Reddys, and he's saying, can I purchase Dwarikesh Sugar at current levels, Kunal?
Well, I think yes, Dwarikesh Sugar was one of the stocks which I had recommended, I think almost a couple of weeks back when the stock was just about 96, 97 levels. Now it's jumped up to 120, 128. The best part about the charts on the short-term time scale is that it's still consolidating. So it has this tendency of, moving into strong uptrends and then consolidating, getting ready for the next move. Those are very good signs when you look at the chart patterns and the structure for the stock. So at current levels of 120 plus, I think it's a good buy.
Okay. Couple of stocks for you to look at, Kunal. India Glycol as well as Jubilant Pharmova. We've got Mr. R.K. Ahuja, who has bought India Glycol at levels of 1,000. He's wondering whether to sell this and then to go in and buy Jubilant Pharmova at the current price. What would you suggest?
No, I think my suggestion would be completely contrast. I think it makes sense to look at exiting Jubilant Pharmova and then shift towards or adding more towards India Glycol, because I think that's a more formidable chart. Now, the best way to try and categorize is if a stock in the last 2 months of heightened volatility or over the last 4-5 months has not broken and sustained below its long-term averages and has managed to bounce back strongly, that's a sign of a strong stock. Now, you look at India Glycol, the stock has bounced off from those averages and now sustaining at much higher levels for itself above those averages. So that's a more stronger stock. So it makes sense to stay with a strong stock rather than staying with a weaker stock.
All right. Apologies, Gaurang. There are a lot of short-term ideas. I was just trying to see if I can get any long-term queries. And this one is from Anchal. And she's saying that she has Tata Steel that she's purchased at 850 levels. Should I exit at these levels or wait for higher levels? She's saying that she can hold on for the next 2 to 3 years only if an upside is guaranteed. Also, she wants a view on the metal counters. So can you guarantee that, Gaurang, upside will be seen in Tata Steel over the next 2 to 3 years?
I'm glad she's making profits in her investments of Tata Steel. She bought it at 800 and the stock is reasonably higher compared to where she has bought it. Guarantee, there is no such word, Cheryl, in equity markets or mutual funds. It's all about high risk, high return. She wants to stay invested for another 2 to 3 years. Well, we are positive on the stock from a long-term point of view. And I always advise one thing to retail investors, Cheryl, that is, when you get invested into equity market, when you invest into XYZ company, at that time you should determine what kind of profits you want to make. Greed is something that will attract you to a lot of unfortunate events and eventually will lead to a profit-making investment turning out to be a loss making. So you have to keep your greed away and concentrate on what kind of returns you want to make.
All right, that's the view on Tata Steel. Interesting question coming in from Amy on YouTube. She's saying, Shri Warren Buffett, I don't think he's been called that very much, but Shri Warren Buffett G says, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. This is a very popular saying. She's looking, Kunal, for another gauge apart from VIX to understand how to play this sentiment.
So there are a lot of ways in which you can play sentiment. VIX is a very important factor, but if you're looking at it as a more of a routine play where you're looking at it to try and capture the short-term aberrations of market, by aberrations I mean stages of euphoria as well as panic, then I believe even PCR, that's the put-call ratio, that's a very important indicator. It's more derivative based, but I believe has a lot of strong positive correlations with respect to the markets. So whenever PCR, for example, a put call ratio, it hits back towards zones of 0.5, 0.6 on the Nifty options, we typically sense that those are points where the sentiment is extremely bearish and it makes sense to try and be more contra over there. And same is the times when PCR crosses above those levels of 1.5, 1.6, where the market gets into a euphoric zone, and that's the best time to actually get more lighter book profits as well as maybe trying to trail your stop losses.
All right, this one is from Mahendra Patnaik, and he's saying that he has 200 shares of Vatech Vabak purchased at 284 rupees per share. He's saying that the price has not been going up much. Should I hold or sell from a 6-month perspective? Kunal?
I would suggest to hold on, wait and watch. It's not as if the chart structures have changed significantly for negative for the stock price. It's getting into its own patch of consolidation. So over the last 6 months, like many of these other mid-cap names, even this stock has gone into a gradual downtrend for itself. I would suggest to wait and watch. If the stock crosses about 325, which could be a double breakout, a long-term average breakout, as well as a price breakout, it could actually lead to a resumption of a trend for the stock. I would suggest to hold.
Okay. Next one's for you, Gaurang. We've got Mr. Parsi, who's writing in from Bengaluru, and he's got ICICI Pru Life at levels of 513. He bought this 6 months ago. And it was a bit of a wobbly move for these counters. I remember when the LIC IPO was coming, or at least it was announced. What are the prospects for the long term, though?
So I do agree, Alex, that, and I think what has happened is that LIC has again reworked and given the documents to the respective authorities. But purely from a long-term point of view, yes, I do agree there was a little bit of underperformance thanks to the recovery and claims that were put in place because of the pandemic on some of the life insurance companies. On iPru, structurally, we remain positive on the fundamental side, and my sense is that there is tremendous scope for life insurance companies to tap insure the uninsured population, and the approach towards life insurance product has also changed. So if you invested from a long-term point of view, stay invested.
One is coming from Kaji, and Kaji wants to know whether it's a good time to buy HUL. Kunal, what's your take on HUL? I'm very tempted to ask you about ITC with that call that you gave in the morning with 300 rupees target that you gave on ITC. But nevertheless, for now, let's talk about HUL, Kunal.
So I think, yes, sticking to HUL, I think it's a good price where you can look to buy. Now, time-wise consolidation or correction is the only concern over here, that how long can the stock stick around at that 1900 to 2000 levels for itself. My sense is that the stock may take at least a couple of months to try and get past about this big barrier in terms of resistance point. But purely in terms of price levels, the stock almost down 20% from its 200-day moving average, which is a very good zone of aberration where you can look to buy. So I believe HUL at current levels, or even if the stock corrects towards its previous low 1900 levels, those are very good levels to buy.
Okay, Gaurang, a view is being sought on Meghmani Organics. This is from Narsimha Rao. He's writing in from Hyderabad, and he's looking for a 3-year view on this stock. Should he buy?
Well, if he's not bought it and as an alternative investment idea, I would recommend stocks like stocks in the specialty chemicals sector. We don't have a specific view on Meghmani, so I won't be able to comment on that. But since he's not bought it, and if he wants to look at alternative investment idea, then UPL, Pidilite, Aarti Industries, Tata Chemicals, Vinati Organics, these would be preferred investment idea from a long-term point of view.
This one is from Shanmuga Sundaram, Dr. Reddys. He has about 40 shares purchased at the levels of 4,300 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can add some more at these levels. What's your take, Kunal?
I would suggest yes. I would believe it's a large cap pharma name, has been a big underperformer over the last I think 9 months, 10 months from those highs of 5,500. The stock has corrected to, I think last week or so the stock was at 3,750, 3,700 level. So that's a steep correction for a large cap name. You generally don't get to see such kind of sharp corrections into a large cap pharma name. So purely in terms of price levels, I think it's a good buy at current levels. If you've already bought at higher zone, then I believe good time to average.
Okay, Force Motors, not Titan in the automotive space, but Gaurang, a stock that investors have looked at in the past. We've got a viewer, Anjali Uttam Chandani, who's writing in from Nashik, and she's bought at very elevated levels. So she's wondering whether or not to hold for the long term. She's held, I think, for 3 years now.
So, unfortunately, Alex, we don't cover the stock, won't be able to comment, but I can give you a view on the auto sector. And our view is that you need to have a contrarian buy call on some of the names. Recovery as far as the auto sector is concerned, earlier the expectation was that the chip shortages will be taken care of by end of March or maybe max end April. But the situation that has come up because of the geopolitical issue could get stretched further. In that case, the auto sector overall would tend to underperform. But in stock market, it is better to take contrarian calls when these certain stocks, certain sector stocks have corrected to a lower rate, purely from a long-term point of view. No specific comments on Force Motors since we don't cover.
This one is from Arun Krishnan, and he wants a view on Zara. He's saying, is it good time to invest at around 1700 levels? He's saying that he sees India is interested in investing in gaming platform, and it makes him feel good that this would be a good investment for the longer term. Do you agree with this view, Gaurang? Do you think Nazara will be a good investment for the longer term? Makes sense for Arun to look at purchasing at 1700?
Well, again, no specific coverage, but the new age technology companies which have got listed recently, some of them have performed terribly and have been wealth destroyers. No specific comments, but you need to be careful what you're buying in this new age technology stocks.
Kunal, I know that you track Nazara Tech. Would you want to offer some comments on this one? Do you think makes sense for Arun to invest at 1700 levels?
So I think it makes sense to invest, but price-wise, I'm not sure whether this could be a good level where you can look to start chipping in. So if unless he has a strategy to try and look at buy on dips from current levels and be ready for some sort of more correction over the near term, then I believe it makes sense to start off from current levels. But if he's looking at a certain price point, then my sense is that the stock can even correct towards 1500, 1550, looking at the short-term chart structure. So depends on the strategy which he can adopt. But I think starting at current levels, you can look to buy, but on dips is where you can look to sort of increase your weight and average.
Gentlemen, a few minutes more. We've got a lot of questions, so encouraging you to keep your answers a little short. GNFC, Gaurang, Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizers and Chemicals. This is a question coming from Mr. Thomas V. George from the Kerala. He's asking whether it can be bought at the current level.
Again, just because the investor is not bought, I would give an alternative investment idea, and we have a coverage on Coromandel International, Alex, and our sense is that this company is well placed to get advantage of what the government policies are for the agri sector. So in case if you not bought this one, consider buying Coromandel International from a long-term point of view.
Pratap Krishnamurthy is asking for views on 5 paise. What's your take on this one? Kunal, do you track this one?
I don't track the stock, but then the chart structures are not something very, very encouraging for the stock. I would not recommend a hold. In fact, it's also one of the very thinly traded counters as well. So won't advise sticking to this name. If possible, exit the stock on any kind of a rally which you get and come back towards a lot of large cap names.
Gaurang, any targets that you might have for the long term on HDFC? We've got Shashi Kiran, who's bought at levels of 2,412, and he's looking at least 5 years.
So I think I would answer it in a different way, Alex. Take a 15 to 20% growth every year and then multiply it for the time horizon you want to stay. I think it's one of the best suited companies in the HFC housing finance segment, and history is there for you to see how this company is performed. So we remain extremely positive on HDFC.
All right, this one is coming from Amit Chug, and he's saying that he's bought Vedanta at the levels of 360 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should book profits or hold for some more time. He's saying that he won't mind holding it for a long time. What's your take, Gaurang? Vedanta, do you think that makes sense for Amit Chug to stay put with his holding?
If you have the patience and the time horizon and a little bit of high risk appetite, I would definitely say don't be in a rush to book profits. I think the recent uptick that we saw on Vedanta over the last 2 or 3 days was because of the announcement that was made. But it is one of the best placed natural resources diversified company along with crude oil, thanks to the merger of Kane India with Vedanta. So stay invested from a long term point.
One more question before the rapid fire round. This is the best a man can get, Gillette. Ashish Singh is asking whether he should hold on to this stock. He's bought at levels of 4769. I suppose it depends on how often Ashish is changing his razors. Gaurang, this is for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I shave every day. And honestly, okay, we don't have a coverage on Gillette, but it is a great company, and we all know the market share of this particular company. And Alex, I wish that when I started shaving, I would have bought Gillette. I would have been a very happy guy, laughing my way to the bank, given the earning visibility and all that. Unfortunately, no specific coverage, but I wish I would have bought it when I started shaving.
Absolutely. I think a lot of them would be thinking the same as what you were thinking about Gillette, Gaurang. But time for the rapid fire, and the first one is from Bhandari, Mr. Bhandari. UTI AMC, how does it look on the charts, Kunal?
So I think it looks quite interesting on the short-term time scale, on the verge of a breakout. I think if you're looking to buy, look out for targets of 1050 plus.
One more coming your way. This one's on Tata Steel, Kunal. Rajeshwari is... Oh, she's just deleted it. Okay. Guys, don't delete something like that. Okay, anyway. Gravita India, do you have coverage, Kunal? If you do, we've got Funny from Hyderabad asking this question. Should she buy?
So I think it's a good chart. Looks attractive from current zone of 350. You can look out for at least a 400 kind of a target, provided you have a 3 months kind of a time frame.
Okay, ML Money is asking, can I buy APL Apollo tubes at current price for the short to medium term? Gaurang, I'll come to you for this one, APL Apollo tubes.
Well, don't have a coverage, and short to medium term difficult to take.
Okay, Rajeshwari's posted again. Tata Steel bought at levels of 1235. Would you suggest that she hold on to this, Kunal?
I will suggest to hold on. My sense is that the steel stocks are going through a big structural breakout for themselves. So Tata Steel could probably head towards even 1450 plus over the near term.
Okay, Kunal, Ajay is saying that he's bought Aarti Industry at the price of 820 and sold it at 920, but he wants to re-enter. So is current market price the right price to enter Aarti Industries, or wait for a dip?
I would suggest to wait for a dip. At least 875 could be a good retracement point where you can look to re-enter.
Okay, Sunny wants to know about 3M. Would you say that it's a good company to buy, Gaurang?
Well, one of the best placed companies. Unfortunately, we don't have a coverage, but strong balance sheet and a strong outlook.
Kunal, a very obvious one for you. Vivek is asking, shall I buy ITC now?
Well, I think ITC is a buy at current levels, and I think in case if the stock gets into a short-term correction, because there are too many people who are now starting to observe the stock, I think that could also be a good level where you can look to chip in for.
Kunal, Anjali wants to know about IRCTC, bought at levels of 924. What should she do?
Well, I would suggest to wait, not to average at current levels. My sense is that the stock is getting into a time-wise correction. Let it spend maybe another couple of months at current levels. That could be a good zone where you can look to buy.
And with that, we come to the end of the rapid fire. Indeed, it was really a rapid one, but there are a lot of queries that have remained unanswered. But don't worry, we will try and accommodate them tomorrow. So do write in tomorrow as well, and we will take your query. And Kunal and Gaurang, thank you so much for joining us on the show, giving us a take on OMCs as well as resolving the viewer queries.